Welcome back to That Dad Guy. Today is the day I answer your questions that I had from the previous week from That Dad Guy Answers Part 2. So we'll go through the eclectic questions that you have for me, as it was an open topic, so things could be about anything. And at the end of the video, we'll put out a new topic or a suggestion on where we should go for it in next week's discussion. So before I get too far into these questions, thank you for liking, subscribing, and commenting. If you haven't already, go ahead and do that. Hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. The first question I have from last week is from Wendy Billing, and it says, on your rural route, didn't a woman once make you cookies? I guess it's a question, and yes, I have had that in the past. When I was working in Sackville, I had many customers that would do nice things like leave a carton of eggs from their farm, make cookies, all sorts of nice little gifts every once in a while to show appreciation. So thank you for that. It says, also, during Christmas, do you work 6 days a week sometimes? Yes, at the Christmas peak. So usually the 4 weekends in December or the last weekend in November and lead up till Christmas. We work on Saturdays as well, just delivering parcels. We don't deliver letter mail on those days, but we do try to get all the parcels out to make sure that people's Christmas presents get to them in time. So yes, we do at Christmas time work 6 days a week. All right, the next question I have comes from Physics 2112. And it says, what is the catalyst for your involvement in postcrossing? And what do your family and close friends think of your passion for postcards and correspondence? Well, in April 2021, I was off work because I have plantar fasciitis. So I had to stay off my feet for a little while, get massage therapy on to get some treatments to help my foot because I was having a hard time walking. And we're not being able to walk is difficult when you're a postman. So while I was off, I had a fellow postie tell me about postcrossing, and I was trying to think of things that I could do while sitting down. So if you go back in my catalog of videos, you'll also notice around the same time when I was off, I started reading kids' books. So I went in and found all the books that my children liked to hear when they were younger and thought, you know what, I'm going to read them, and maybe some other kids haven't heard these stories and would like to hear them. So I was doing that, and then I had a fellow postie tell me about postcrossing and how she was doing it. She just reached, I think, her 100th received postcard at a time, so it was her milestone about it. And I asked her, and she told me about it, so I thought, well, let's give this a try, and from there, I was hooked. I've been sending postcards and making videos about it ever since, and I've made lots of new friends worldwide as a result of it. So it's a hobby I would encourage other people to get involved in. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's not super expensive to do. All you need is a postage stamp to the destination, and the card doesn't even have to be something purchased. You can make it with cardboard and things around your house if you want to. So there are lots of ways of doing postcrossing, and yeah, it's great. What do my family and close friends think of the passion for it? Probably indifferent. I know my wife and kids, I show them the postcards and they say, oh, that's a nice postcard. But it's not their thing. They know it's my hobby, and I know from my wife's perspective, I think she prefers me postcrossing to the Lego because Lego is so expensive. And I don't really have a lot of people sending me free Lego. And I do get the occasional person who will send me postcards. So it makes it a lot cheaper hobby. So I think that she appreciates that. And the stamps is great because as a postman, I see stamps. My father's been a huge stamp collector for a long time. So it has helped me talk more and show more things to my dad of the stamps that are coming in, and increase my passion for stamp collecting as well. All right, so thanks so much for that question. The next one comes from my brother, Eric Lennox, and he wants to know the top 5 cities in the world I haven't visited and why you'd like to visit them. Tokyo definitely is a must visit city one day in my life. I hope to get a chance to go to Japan. The Japanese culture just fascinates me. The architecture is amazing. The food from Japan. There's lots of reasons that I'd love to go to Japan and see Tokyo specifically, but I would definitely get out into the countryside and see some of the smaller areas and mountains and temples. And yeah, Tokyo would be one of those 5 for sure, Eric. St. Petersburg, Russia has always been a place on my list as a historian. I would love to see the Russian architecture there as well, the landscapes. The city is supposed to be just rich with history, so St. Petersburg, Russia would be there. Rio de Janeiro would also be on my list to get to South America one day. Who knows, maybe be there for Mardi Gras to see the statue, everything that's going on around in the food in South America. Would love to be able to eat in and around. When I travel, I want to eat. So that's it. I want to go to places that have great food. So we've talked about St. Petersburg, Rio, Tokyo, Johannesburg in South Africa. Would also love to be down there at the Horn of Africa and see the mountains and the beaches and the way that they collide together. It's another spot that is rich in the history of the settlers there, plus all the local culture. So that's probably number 4. Number 5, probably Cairo. I've never been to Egypt, never been to the Middle East. It would either be Cairo or maybe something like Dubai, and see the magnificence of the buildings there. But a Middle Eastern city. There are so many places in the world that I want to see. And this could be a topic, maybe it will be a topic for next week, because I've had some adventures traveling, and I've seen some great things so far, but there's so much of the world left to see. All right, so thanks, Eric. The next one, let's see what we have. We have another question here. Yes. The next one is, maybe you could introduce us to Polo and tell us about him. This comes from unknown origin. How old is he? Does he eat? Or what does he eat? Does he like to be handled? So for this one, I'm actually going to wake him up. He may not be happy about it, but I will, just for you guys. All right, unknown origin. This is Polo. So Polo is male. He's an African hedgehog. He is almost 8 months old now. Twirl him around. He's nocturnal, so he sleeps during the day, which for him right now, he's like, why did you wake me up? Does he like to be handled? Yes, he's okay with being handled. You have to be careful. These are quills. So if he gets upset, he will flare out. And if you're petting him, you'll get a handful of quills. So it can be prickly. As long as you're petting him in this direction, you're usually pretty good. He's got a very soft underbelly. Polo is very well tempered. He's good at things, but he is an oddball as far as hedgehogs. We see images of hedgehogs and they lay on their backs and they do all sorts of things. Polo doesn't really like to do that. He eats little cat food pellets. That's what he enjoys eating. He doesn't go much in for worms and the little bugs and things that you see other hedgehogs like. It's not his thing, but he does eat cat pellets. I would say he's a bit smaller than most hedgehogs you see, even though he's 8 months old. He hasn't bloomed into this big fat hedgehog. He is pretty good, nice size. Does he like being handled? You can see he is active right now. He's wondering, hey, why did you get me up? I need to find a place to burrow to. And so thank you so much for the question about Polo. It's nice to be able to show Polo off. And yeah, we'll give you one last look, and then I'm going to go put him back to bed, because it's bedtime for Polo. And who's a good boy? Polo's a good boy. All right, so I'll be back. There, hopefully you enjoyed the quick moment we had with Polo and getting caught up. We tend to take him out about 7:30 at night. He goes for a little swim in the sink where he can also do his business at the same time. We get him toweled off, and then he's good to cuddle around for the rest of the evening until we decide to go to bed. So that's usually our time with Polo. My daughter cleans his cage and takes care of him. It's really her pet, but she's going to be off to university next year, so we will take him on as the family pet for sure. So, all right, let's move on to the next question. So Julie Donovan writes, how long have you been working as a mail carrier? I've been working as a mail carrier 10 years in October, so we're coming up on an anniversary. How did you become a mail carrier? Well, I was working as a financial advisor before, and I really wanted to make a change. And as I was getting on in my 30s, I didn't want to wait too much longer to make that change. So I applied for a job, and it was with Canada Post. And this is what came up. I was applied as an on-call relief, which I got, and stayed on that for 10 months before finding a permanent position. So that's what I have. So that's how I became a mail carrier. Was it always the job I was interested in, or did you have other jobs before being a mail carrier? So no, I didn't always want to be a mail carrier. I kind of fell right into it. It wasn't something it was even on my radar to be at any point in time. I've had many different jobs before. I worked as a financial advisor, like I said, for around 6 years. Worked through the crash in the stock market and all those sort of things. That's what I was when I came back to Moncton, because we lived in Vancouver prior to that. While I was in Vancouver, I worked as a master planner for a paper company. Before we were in Vancouver, I was a university student, and through university, I worked as a sous chef in a restaurant. So I had a chance to do prep cooking, and as a prep cook in my first year of university with a friend's family in Long Island. That's where I kind of started with it. And then when I moved back and went to university, at a different university at that time, I became a sous chef in a kind of a fancy inn in my university town. So those are some of the jobs I did. I was a paper boy when I was even younger. So I've done a few different things through my life and worked as a part-time here and there at different little jobs. But those are the major careers that I've had. So those are things that could be talked about in the future. Who knows? So let's see if there is another question out there. I have someone from Sweden here telling me that they only have mail delivered on 3 days a week. So we don't have that yet, but I know it's something they've talked about, is going from 5 days, which we are now, to maybe going to 4. They're trying to see whether or not that's going to be possible. I know many other countries do that, but we do not yet. We are still 5 days a week. And I know in the States, they still do 6 days a week. So depending on where you are in the world, there's lots of different opportunities there. Some of these people are not questions they're asking. Okay, here's another question. So this comes from Yulia in Russia. She said, could you please tell us a little about St. Valentine's Day in Canada? Is it an important tradition? Do most people give each other cards and flowers and stuff? Are Valentine's cards really supposed to be anonymous? Do you still have some cards you were given when you were at school? Okay, lots of questions there. St. Valentine's Day, or Valentine's Day, is celebrated on February the 14th in Canada. It is mostly a commercial holiday. So it's a good time if you want to go to a card store and buy a card and give it to your significant other. You can do that. Florists love it that time of year because people buy flowers and chocolates, and it's kind of hyped up. The prices in restaurants are more expensive because they have special menus on Valentine's Day. So is it an important tradition? I don't know if it's an important tradition. It's a very marketable tradition. So it's almost a bit like when Easter and Christmas come to pass. They were certain traditions, but now they're all about the gifts. They're all about how much you spend on someone. It shows how much you love them, supposedly. So we don't celebrate it that way. It also happens to be my wife's birthday. So Valentine's Day almost crushes part of the birthday, because if you want to go out to eat on that day, it's a lot more expensive. It's a lot more crowded to do it. So we tend to do smaller things, maybe even the day before or the day after, to celebrate the birthday. And then for Valentine's Day, we exchange cards and maybe a couple things of chocolates or sweets. That's all that we really do in our household. But there is lots of exchanging of cards and flowers. So yes, there is lots of that going on. Are they supposed to be anonymous? I don't think so. When we were in grade school, you were to give out Valentine's cards to everybody. You always sign them. Everybody got one. It wasn't like in the past where you would only give a few. If you were doing it as a class, you gave one to everyone in your class. That way no one was left out. So, do I have cards left from when I was in school? I don't think so. My mother was great on saving all the birthday cards and things like that. When we went to clean out the house, when they were downsizing, I took a bunch of the things I did have that were saved for me. I put them in boxes in the basement. So is it possible there's a Valentine's card in there? It's possible, but I tried to weed out of a lot of that stuff. If I wasn't going to look at it and it wasn't going to be something that really was important to me, I ended up throwing a lot of that stuff out. I just didn't want to have the clutter. I have lots of clutter in my house as it is now, and I would love to even downsize even more than I have. So I think that is all the questions that I have from last week. So what I will put forth is I want to have questions about travel for next week. When Eric asked me the question about 5 cities I'd love to see, it really sparked memories of places I've been in the past and things that I've seen and experiences that I've had. So if you have questions on that, on travel and places I've been to or experiences I've had, go for it. Ask me some questions on that. And maybe you have a question that's kind of outside the box about travel too, or suggestions of places I should go see and why. So that's next week's assignment. So until then, enjoy what you're doing, have fun where you're at, and stay safe. What, Polo? You say like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends?
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?